So for some time now, I've seen a developing argument, a developing desire, a developing position of members of the Xenoverse community for the release, the expedited release, the expedited news of a Xenoverse 3. I've actually seen people dissatisfied with new content being developed for Xenoverse 2 because they want Xenoverse 3. Now, I don't really get this whole argument, and it's completely asinine from where I'm looking at it, you know, from my perspective, because it doesn't make sense. You really want Dimps to crap out a Xenoverse 3 so that you can gripe, whine, and moan about that, instead of them fixing, modifying, updating Xenoverse 2. And I mean, there's so many different positions that prove that whole notion of wanting a Xenoverse 3 sooner rather than later. There's so many positions that prove that argument completely wrong. I mean, from a perspective, you're paying way less for updates. Oh, you're not even really paying for updates. You're paying way less for new content for Xenoverse 2, where you would just wait for Xenoverse 3 and pay a whole nother $60, $70 for a game where it'll probably have more bugs than what it would have if they were not incrementally fixing Xenoverse 2. You get what I'm saying? Like, I appreciate the fact that Dimps is still, you know, having their hands on Xenoverse 2. Like, they're fixing it in little, bits. A lot of people say that it could be done quicker. Okay, whatever. But at least they're doing something about it, you know? I mean, the game has been out for 2 years, close to 3. And that's way beyond the expected lifespan of any game that Dimps or Bandai releases. And you get these people who are sitting here acting like, well, that's why Xenoverse 2 is dying. Xenoverse 2 is a lot more lively than what it should be. Yes, by now Xenoverse 2 should be as dead as Xenoverse, but because the game is actually good to people who actually know how to play the game, it is surviving. I mean, hey, it's not our fault that you grind the DLC for a whole day or two straight, unlock all the content, and that's all you were interested in, and then you go play something else. Again, just because Xenoverse 2 is out does not mean you only play Xenoverse. You are supposed to play other games. I mean, I'm going to go into a whole different argument here, but I would rather them take the time to fix Xenoverse 2, add content to Xenoverse 2, rather than rush a Xenoverse 3. What do you achieve from rushing a Xenoverse 3? Nothing. Nothing. Actually, you're hurting Xenoverse 3. You're destroying a hypothetical Xenoverse 3 by rushing it out, because if they could fix a whole bunch of issues here and now in Xenoverse 2, and if they can add content to Xenoverse 2, then it raises the expectations and quality for Xenoverse 3. Like, I appreciate the fact that they put in Jiren and Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku and Baby, because those would have been bargaining chips for Xenoverse 3. Like, hey, look, we have Jiren. Haven't you been waiting to play him forever? Go ahead and buy our game and ignore whatever flaws it may have or whatever lack of content it may have. Now that we have these characters, now that we have these costumes, they're really going to have to push the envelope with Xenoverse 3. They're not going to be able to just step to us with, oh, look, we got Jiren. Look, we got Ultra Instinct Goku. The more content they add in now, again, it just raises the expectations for a Xenoverse 3. They have to come correct. They have to come in and actually listen to the consumer base on what we want to improve, what new content we actually want. Not just what they tell us we want, but what we actually want as a consumer base. And that should be the goal. That should be the goal of everyone in this community, is to have them constantly modifying and improving and, making the game better. Now, mechanically, I don't think there's too much more that they could do with Xenoverse as a series. I don't want them to switch and try to do a rebooted series or a new genre, or whatever you want to call that. I would rather them just, you know, now it's time to, it's the point where we need to get to that Tenkaichi 3 levels of content and roster, because the fighting system is almost perfected. I mean, I could argue that they need to add some mechanics of the Raging Soul combo system from Raging Blast 2. Maybe, you know, sprinkle in some Tenkaichi 3 combat mechanics and then call it a day, because they've really pushed this combat system to its lengths. And if they want to use Xenoverse 2 as a testing ground, like they put in Limit Burst, hey, they're getting all the data that they need to get about Limit Burst and Xenoverse 2, so that if there is a Xenoverse 3, they can come in and tweak it and say, okay, you know, it worked like this in Xenoverse 2, players abused it like this or used it like that. Now we need to rein it in and take this data and adjust things, rather than them rush out Limit Burst in Xenoverse 3 with us not having any idea how good or bad it actually is, and you just having to deal with it for almost a year, because you know how long it takes them to, you know, majorly fix the game that impacts the meta. So again, don't be that kind of player or that kind of consumer that's gonna complain and whine and moan for a Xenoverse 3 when it's actually to your disadvantage to get one so quickly. If they want to take a whole nother year and just completely cover the Tournament of Power, so that in Xenoverse 3 we can expect Super Dragon Ball Heroes or Dragon Ball Heroes anime content and extra stuff like that, or more original content that really expands the roster with new crazy characters and new concepts and new moves and new this and new that, do it that way. Make one big final Xenoverse expansion pack. Don't just quit doing this 2 to 4 characters thing. Make it a 20, 30, 40 characters expansion pack. I'm not calling it a DLC pack, an expansion pack. Look at all the Saiyans you could add. You could add Dragon Ball Super King Vegeta, and then the original King Vegeta from the anime, or the Bardock special. You could add, you know, Bardock. You know, well, nobody wants mine as Bardock. But you could add, you know, Fasha, you could add Toma, Shugesh, you could add all those different Saiyans, you could add all those other characters from the Tournament of Power, 5 characters per universe. You could add the Angels, the Gods of Destruction that are missing, and you can roll this into one big final $40. I would, even if we got all that content and each character produced 1 or 2 new moves, a new ultimate, a new super attack, and that was just tons and tons of new content, I would argue $40 to $50. You get all those characters, you get 1 or 2 new maps, and you call it a day. And then you put the lid on Xenoverse 2, and then you take, what, another year to work on Xenoverse 3 so that it comes out fresh, crisp, with new content. We get everything that we got from DLC and the base game of Xenoverse 2, and then you just come into Xenoverse 3 with a new perspective, a new, you know, message that you want to send to the community. But the community needs to receive, and it needs to understand that rushing the developers is never going to work. Rushing them is only giving them, you know, an excuse for the mistakes that might show up in Xenoverse 3. So again, these other Dragon Ball tubers, these other Xenoverse tubers, I don't know where your heads are at. I don't know where this rush is coming from, because then when things go wrong, what are you gonna do? Xenoverse 3 is crap, they should have taken more time, this is lacking, the creation options are blah, da 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 da. Let them take their time. Let them continue to release content for this game if they can. If they can keep getting licensing, if they can keep getting the green light from Funimation and Toei and this company or that company to add content into this game, let them. Please add some more content to Xenoverse 2. Tweak the creation system a little bit, like maybe add some more options and see how we like things. You want custom auras and custom this and custom that, support them releasing it as DLC for Xenoverse 2. Not another $60, $70 game that you're going to complain about, that you're going to quote unquote quit, even though you still release videos and content for it, but you quit the game. Again, if you're new to the channel, I think I've put the cap on that discussion. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell for all the new content videos that will be coming out on this channel. Hey, go ahead and support me on Patreon, support me at the different links down below if you would like to, and I will see you in the next video. Viva la Xenoverse 2, as long as you can.